What is a breakthrough? And what can we do to achieve more of them in our lives? During this speech, I'm going to attempt to answer both of those questions. So let's start with the first one. What is a breakthrough really? All of us have things we want in life. For some of you in the audience, that may be getting that dream internship. For others, it may be starting your own company one day. And for others still, your big life objective right now may be to spend less money on alcohol in the rotunda. What do I know? Now, regardless of what your current life objective may be, one thing is certain, and that is that on the way towards achieving your goals, you are bound to face obstacles. Obstacles that you will have to break through in order to achieve your goal. So what a breakthrough really is the overcoming of obstacles. Now, although our goals may be radically different from one another's, I am going to suggest to you that our obstacles are very much the same. Because more often than not, the one big thing that's standing in the way of our goals, of our success, of our happiness, is ourselves. And to be even more specific, it's the voice inside our heads. Now, to give you an example, what I mean when I say the voice inside our heads. I am a morning person, and I like to work out in the mornings rather than in the evenings. But not only am I a morning person, I am also a Netflix person. And before you may be tempted to think to yourself that, that's quite the conflict of interest he's got going there. On the one hand, he's this morning person who likes to get up in the morning and do things. And on the other hand, he's this Netflix person who likes to watch TV shows in the evenings. How does he combine those two? I appreciate the concern, you guys, I really do, but this is actually not an issue for me. I've actually found a way around this. In fact, let me tell you what I did just the other day. So I started off by telling myself that I was only going to watch one episode. So I started doing just that, and it was going great. It was going super well, and then the most unbelievable thing happened. There was a cliffhanger. Yeah, I'm as shocked as you are, but that's when the negotiations began. I could hear myself think, but I've slept so well all week. I mean, seriously, I've had a full 8 hours of sleep for the last, one day, but still, I feel rested. I can manage on 7 hours of sleep. So I decided to do just that. So I started watching another episode, and that too was going really well. And then it happened again. 2 consecutive cliffhangers. I could not believe it. But of course, that's when the negotiations started back up. This time, thankfully, my wiser self came to the rescue. So now I could hear myself think, okay, that's enough. I've already watched 1 episode too many. It's time to go to bed. Then the voice continued and said, sure, but what if? What if, instead of gymming in the morning, I gym in the evening? That way I get 2 more hours in the morning, and not only do I get to watch 1 more episode now, I also get the full 8 hours of sleep. I think you may see where this is going. I didn't actually end up going to the gym the day after. And although I'm sure that nothing like this has ever happened to any of you guys, I hope it serves to illustrate what I mean when I talk about the voice inside your head. And let's get real here for a second. Because that voice is the very same voice that talks you out of your dreams. It's the voice that says, but what if I fail when you're considering starting your own company? It's the voice that says, but maybe I was just born with bad self-discipline when you're trying to drag yourself to the gym. And it's the voice that says, no, don't tell him or her how you really feel. Because what if they don't feel the same? Can you see how listening to this voice may not always be in our best interest? So how do we stop? Can we stop? Is there a way to see through all of the bullshit that this voice comes up with? And I haven't actually talked to you over the last 5 minutes just to say, no, there's no such way. Have a good life, y'all. And then just walk off stage. Well, that would have been an original TED Talk, I'll tell you that much. No, there is a way. There is a way to start chipping away at the excuses, the rationalizations, and the downright lies that we tell ourselves. In fact, there are two ways. Because if we agree that the voice inside your head, so your thoughts, your emotions, your fears, your worries, whatever's going on in here, can sometimes become an obstacle in our lives, and there are really two ways of dealing with it. The first one is to change the voice. That's easy, right? This is basically the essence of positive thinking. So take an example such as keeping a gratitude journal. Say every time you worry about something, you take out a journal and you write down something you're grateful for, thereby counteracting that negative thought. If you do that over and over, then you can kind of actually rewrite your brain patterns and actually create new thought patterns. So that's one way of dealing with the voice in our head. Other things that would go into that bucket would be things like affirmations and whatnot. The other way is not to change the voice directly, but to change our relationship to that voice. And that's the ability to take a step back and observe what's going on in our minds. It's the ability to break the link between the emotion and the emotional response. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. Because that includes things like meditation, things like mindfulness, things like journaling, that actually require you to look within and get to know yourself on a deeper level. And out of those, the one I'm going to be focusing on mainly today is meditation, because that's what I've been doing most of in my life recently, and it's also, like, within science, it's like the most interesting field right now. And I'm studying business, whoops. So, why should you meditate? There are so many reasons, and just to list a few, it lowers your stress response. It strengthens your attention and your focus. It improves your meta-awareness, and this is huge, and I'll get back to it. It increases your empathy, increases your understanding of others. It cures depression in the same rate as antidepressants, but with no medical side effects. And it improves your impulse control and willpower. Now, as much as I would love to talk about all of these, our time together is limited, so I'm going to focus on the first two. So, some of the most interesting studies done on meditation have been done on yogis. Now, a yogi is a meditation master who teaches other people how to meditate. And the ones who were part of this study had meditated in their life between 10 and 60,000 hours. Just to put that into perspective, for you to meditate for 60,000 hours, you have to meditate for roughly 10 hours a day for almost 20 years. So these are some hardcore meditators we're dealing with here. Now, they did a study here where they show that, I'm going to have to put this down for this, they show that if I were to take a syringe, and this is your arm, that as I'm approaching your arm with a syringe, something very interesting happens in your amygdala, which is the brain's stress center. It would look something like this. Here I take out the syringe, and you're starting to stress out a little bit. Here the syringe is coming closer, and now you're starting to tense up, and you're starting to breathe intensely, and there, insert the syringe, and then it goes down. This part here is called anticipatory pain. And this is our ability to actually experience pain by anticipating a future event. It's right here. I have not inserted the syringe in your arm right here, but you're still reacting. You're still having a stressful reaction to this event. Whereas when they did the same thing with the yogis, it just looked like this. Oh, here comes the syringe. Oh no, the syringe. Oh no, there it was. And then no recovery. Not very dramatic, right? Now, this anticipatory pain, we experience this in all kinds of areas of our lives. It's the same thing we experience when many of you in this audience perhaps stress for exams, or when we have something important at work we need to do and we're stressing out about it. What we're really doing in those instances is that we envision a future moment and we usually picture it being bad. And then by doing so, we create pain in the present moment. So that's really what we're doing with this whole anticipatory pain thing. Now, some of this, let's call it stress. This anticipatory pain, creating pain in the present moment, let's call it stress. Some of the stress can be good. I mean, I know I myself have, for instance, in many occasions submitted an assignment like 10 minutes before the deadline, not because I'm more productive on Sunday evenings at 11:50 p.m. No, because my anticipatory pain of not submitting the assignment was too great. So some stress can be good for us. But there's also a thing, but stress can also be too much for us. It can be a thing that's, there are many instances where stress is simply not good for us. And that's things when we let the stress carry over into other areas of our lives. It's when you're trying to have a quality conversation with a friend, but you're not even fully present. You're not really hearing what they're saying because you're all caught up in your own drama. Or it's when you're trying to enjoy a weekend off and try to have a good weekend or something, but you're not really enjoying the weekend because you're too busy thinking about what you have to do next week or what you did last week or what someone said about you or whatever. You know, we have these things going on. And in those instances, stress is not a good thing for us. And it really worsens our life quality. Now, meditation is a great tool for teaching us to be more present, for teaching us to live more in the moment and actually not worry so much about everything else that's going on. And you may be thinking, yeah, that's great and all, but I don't actually have 60,000 hours left over right now to go become a yogi and live in the Himalayas. And if that's the case, don't worry, because studies have shown that it requires as little as 30 hours of meditation to have up to 50% stress reduction in your amygdala to these kinds of everyday experiences. So if you were to start meditating, and if you do it a little bit every day, and you keep up the habit, then you will find yourself over time not only less worried at your next doctor's appointment when someone's going to insert a syringe in your arm, but also stressing less about these other daily events. So that brings me to the next point. Attention. Now, there was a study done recently on this field where they took two groups of students. And these two groups, one of the two groups was asked to meditate over 2 weeks. And the other group was a control group that was simply taught a nutritional study over 2 weeks. After these 2 weeks, both groups took the GRE. And the GRE is an entrance exam to a lot of US graduate schools, similar to the Swedish Högskoleprov. And what they found was that the group that meditated for 2 weeks performed 16% better. 16% better after 2 weeks of meditation. How does that happen? Well, here's the thing. Meditation is the skill of managing our attention, of managing our focus. So if you think about it, what you really do when you meditate is you're just focusing on one single point. You're focusing on your breath, or you're focusing on the sounds in the room. There's even one technique. You just take your index finger, you take your thumb. You can try this right now. Just take your index finger and take your thumb and touch the two. And then this technique involves just focusing on the sensations involved in this little act. So you just focus on this sensation right here of your index finger touching your thumb. Try to do that for 3 minutes without being distracted. It is like super hard. But by kind of envisioning that, you can see how meditation and different kinds of meditation techniques really sharpens our focus. It can be a really, really good tool to increase our attention. Because we live in a very, very, very easily distracted era. I mean, it happens to me all the time that I'm like talking to a friend, having a good conversation, and then I feel my phone vibrate. I'm like, what if it was that person? Should I check? Should I not check? And even if I don't check the phone, the conversation has still kind of been half ruined a little bit because I'm not fully present anymore what the person said, and I'm not actually really listening. So it is super important that we actually take charge of our attention and that we really try to manage our attention. Now, if you have never tried meditation, if you have tried meditation and maybe didn't like it or whatever, the point is this. There are many ways to do this, and it is really important that we do. And some of these things include things like mindful walking or mindful eating. It doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to do like hold your fingers together, just focus on that. You can do other things. You can go out in the park and just actually focus on that moment. Or you can actually savor the food you eat. Other things include journaling. And that's something I personally love doing so much. Just sitting out on a park bench, hopefully in the sun, bring out a journal, a pen, and just write down whatever's on your mind. It's also a great tool to get more in touch with yourself and get more in touch with this voice in our heads. Or you can choose to do meditation. And if you choose to do the last one, there are also many ways to start trying out meditation, to build it into a habit. There are many apps like Headspace or Waking Up, but there's a bunch of others. You can go on a retreat, and you can take meditation classes and whatnot. And I'm going to leave you with this, and that is that if you decide to try to meditate, and if you actually pick up the habit of meditation, you will find that you will no longer be able to tell the lies that you didn't even know you said in your head. Because as you begin to meditate, you'll start hearing the excuses you didn't even know you had. And as you begin to meditate, you can learn to love the voice in your head. Thank you.